Hey guys, another movie for you guys, and as we're reviewing this movie, I definitely have been looking forward to seeing for a long time now, not just because of who's behind it and what it is, just in general, it was one of the most anticipated movies for the first half of this month. If you guys saw it on either 22 Tiger Dude's channel or on the Universe of the Blue servers. This is one of my most anticipated films of the year. It was my second most anticipated film for the first half of this year. And that, of course, is a film that I was definitely, like I said, very much looking forward to. It is definitely the big movie of this week that's probably going to make a shit ton of money. It's already made, like, a shit ton of money. And that, of course, is the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast. I was obviously hyped for this film, not just because it is Beauty and the Beast, which is, is such a well-known property and is definitely one of Disney's greatest achievements, at least in my eyes, definitely, is one of their best. But also because lately at least, Disney has been killing it with these live action remakes. They've gotten the right cast, they've done a good job of keeping the spirit of the original while also adding some new stuff in to kind of improve the original and just to make it feel a little bit more complete and make some of the characters feel a little more layered. They've done a very good job with that with both Cinderella and The Jungle Book. Definitely both of those being very solid live action films that honestly I could see kids today watching and, bringing to, having a kid that hasn't seen the original watching the new one and then them going to their kids, years later and showing it to them. I definitely think that's going to happen in the past, in the next few years. And I think Beauty and the Beast especially was the one that looked like it had the most potential. I was definitely looking forward to it. I definitely knew that there were ways that this could go wrong. But as it turns out, guys, how is Beauty and the Beast? Beauty and the Beast is incredible. It is everything that I really hoped it would be. It's very fun. It's also very insightful. It is by far the best of the Disney live-action films, and it is definitely one of my favorite movies I've seen so far this year. I really did love this movie overall. Now, let's talk about the plot of Beauty and the Beast, which I'm pretty sure you guys know the plot already, but if there's someone who has never seen Beauty and the Beast and is just curious about the plot, I'm just getting it into right now. Basically, the main plot of Beauty and the Beast is you have this prince who, basically was kind of, he was definitely very stuck up and very rude, and he one day rejected this wretched looking woman who, she was very old and decrepit looking, and she offered him a rose and he rejected it from her, and by rejecting that rose, she then placed an entire spell on this castle where it turned him into a beast because essentially the woman felt he was incapable of true love, so she wanted him to feel like what it looked like to be this hideous creature. So she turns him into this very hideous beast, and she turns all of the castle, all of the, staff members and things like that in the castle and the servants, she turns them all into old antiques. And one day there is this girl, Belle, who she is a very reclusive, street smart type, not street smart, book smart, type, character. And, she's very much, she's very aware of herself and things like that. And her father, Maurice, ends up going to the castle one day, and he has this run-in with the beast, and she has to go rescue her father, and she eventually comes upon the castle, and eventually the antiques realize that this might be the girl to break the spell, even though it seems that she and the beast don't exactly get along. Over time they kind of do, but that is basically a plot of Beauty and the Beast overall. I know it's a lot more layered than what you guys probably expect me to say, but let's just get into this movie, starting off with the cast. And really one of the things I think Disney has absolutely been killing it with when it comes to the acting in this film, and not just this film, but also The Jungle Book and Cinderella. Disney really knows how to cast its actors when it comes to live action roles that, really do seem like these were the kind of roles. And when these roles were announced, that's what really got me on board with this movie. I remember when this cast was announced, I'm like, okay, I need to see how this is going to be right now. And the cast was phenomenal. I think everyone across the board really did a great job. Let's first talk about Emma Watson, because there's been a lot of stuff going on about her, how she's not classically trained and how she's not really a singer. And no, she's not really a singer. Is she good? Yeah, I do think she can definitely sing. She's not a terrible singer. In fact, she was actually trained for this film. She's herself has even said she doesn't think she's a great singer, and I wouldn't say she's great. I think she's a good singer. However, because of how great of an actress she is, that really does elevate her performance a lot more, because she does a fantastic job capturing the spirit of the original Belle. She's very witty. She, like I said, she's very aware of herself. She has a lot of agency. you really do care about her as a character, what she's going through, how the Beast actually helps her as a person. I really did like her in this role. She was a lot of fun to watch, but she also did a very good job of the different sort of emotions that Belle has to go through. I really loved her in this role. She was honestly perfect. I don't really think they could have casted a better Belle, and I really did love what she had to do here. She had a very impossible task, definitely. It was definitely something that was quite hard to do, but I think she really did live up to the expectations, and I definitely was very happy with what I saw from her. She really was fantastic. However, when it really comes down to it, as much as I did love Emma Watson, by far the best performance, in my opinion, was Dan Stevens as the Beast, who has been knocking it out of the park lately. I mean, he has really been impressing me between this and Legion, especially if you watch this after Legion or vice versa. He is just a phenomenal actor, and what he does with the Beast here is incredible, because the one thing I will give this movie that the original doesn't do is that it gives you a lot more reasons to care for the Beast, and not just that, but also gives you a lot more backstory for the Beast, why he is the way he is, why he acts the way he does, and it also changes a long-running complaint where instead of in the original film, when he was a kid, the Beast actually, that's when he turned into the Beast. It was when he was a kid. In this, he's already an adult, and he's very well knowledged, and he knows how to do a lot of things. So when he turns into this Beast, he's a little bit more different. He carries himself better. He's not as ferocious. He definitely is still just as menacing and gruesome when you first see him. But there are a little bit more of a reason for why Belle and the Beast should, why these two actually do have chemistry, and it feels a little more organic, and I really love what Dan Stevens did in this role, because he really did a great job at first portraying this menace, but also giving us a lot more reasons to care about him. I'm not gonna lie, when it comes down to it, I cared a lot more for this Beast than I did for the one in the original. I care for him in the original because he just did a very good job with that, but I think this one definitely, Dan Stevens just nailed this role. He really gave everything he could into it, and he's really impressed me lately. I really love what he had to do here. And the chemistry between Beast and the Belle, I actually thought was a lot stronger in this movie. Because of the longer runtime, we're given a lot more for Belle and the Beast to do, for a lot more interactions for them to have, for a lot more reasons for them to dislike and like each other. It feels a lot less rushed, which I wouldn't say it felt rushed exactly in the original film, but it was kind of like they just randomly started to like each other. They actually give a reason for why these two like each other. I was very happy with that. I think it is definitely an improvement over the original film, and really is the thing that anchors this film. These two really do anchor this movie perfectly. You really do care about them, and because of that, the movie really is, elevated to another level because of that. I really thought they did a fantastic job here. Now, as for the rest of the cast, I think they also did a fantastic job. No one was really that bad, but let's first talk about Luke Evans as Gaston, who I did think was great. I thought he definitely did a great job at capturing the menacing selfishness, and just the way, he's kind of like in love with himself and things like that, how enamored he is when he looks at himself in the mirror. I thought they did a good job with that. But this Gaston is a little bit different than the original, because while I think the original Gaston was kind of just a jerk, and definitely was someone you love to hate, this movie, you just hate him. I mean, you really hate Gaston in this movie. They don't give you many reasons to really like him as a character, and I like that. I thought it definitely worked. But Luke Evans in the role, I thought he was good. I liked what he had to do here. But I did feel that he was just a little bit too over the top, at least in my eyes. I thought Gaston, as a character, Luke Evans was one of the weaker ones. I didn't like him as much. I didn't think he was as fun as the original one was. And I don't think, in my opinion, went with that barbaric nature that Gaston is supposed to have. And it's not that I think he was miscast. I think Luke Evans definitely does a good job. Like in scenes where he's trying to woo Belle, he does a very good job with that. Or, scenes where he's with LeFou and there's a little interplay between them. That stuff he's good with. It's later in the movie where he becomes a lot more integral to the plot, and he becomes a lot more of this incredible, horrifying force of nature. They try to take him in a much more menacing direction, and I don't know if it exactly worked. I think Luke Evans he did not exactly do as good as he could have done. He's really the only role that wasn't great, and I think it's because everyone else is just so great here that when you compare it to Luke Evans, it just doesn't compare, at least in my eyes. I don't really think it compares that well. I don't really think it holds up to the rest of the actors here. Everyone else did a great job, but Luke Evans, in my opinion, was the weakest of the bunch. However, Josh Gad, on the other hand, I really did love as LeFou. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding him because, he is the first gay Disney character and things like that, and honestly, when it comes down to it, I don't really know why Disney had to say this because it's very, very downplayed, as I suspected. I really did not think that Disney was going to go that fully into it, and they don't. You get maybe 3 little glimpses of him kind of questioning his sexuality. Sometimes he's just, friends with Gaston. Other times you can tell he definitely does have feelings for Gaston, but he tries to keep himself very composed, and I really love what he had to do here. Now, some people may complain because a lot of this is played for laughs, but for me it worked because LeFou has always been the comedic relief. He's always been the one that, is Gaston's just really funny sidekick, and they take him in this much different direction in the film, and I actually really love what they did. I think it actually really added to his character development. They tried to make him a lot more of a character and a lot less of just a sidekick, and I really did like that. Like, they took him from, just being a stock character to being a lot more than that, and it got me to care a lot more for LeFou than I did in the original film, and I really love what Josh Gad had to do here. He was very funny. He had a lot of really fun lines, and you can definitely tell he was having a lot of fun, so I really love what he had to do here, and I think he definitely, just like everyone else, really did a great job. And then the rest of the cast here, Kevin Kline I thought was great as Maurice. They give him a lot more to do as well in this movie, especially in regards to Belle's mother. There's a much bigger reason for these two to have the relation that they do. There's a nice little subplot, like I said, with him and, him and Belle, with her not really knowing her mother, and I like what they did there. I thought that definitely gave me more reasons to care for him. He was fantastic. Now let's talk about the antiques, because I think everyone did a great job. Ian McGregor, Ian McKellan, Emma Thompson, everyone was great. I really don't think there was a bad performance in the bunch. Some people might be a little thrown off, though, because these antiques look like antiques. They don't try to animate them exactly. They kind of just put lips on them and eyes and things like that. And at first glance, yeah, it is kind of jarring the way they did that, but once Ian McGregor and Ian McKellan actually started to talk and they started to act as these characters, I bought into it. I was fine with the way it went. I don't think it's... I think that, yeah, it definitely does look different from the animated film. When it really comes down to it, I don't think they could have made it look better. I don't think there's really anything they could have done to not make these antiques look like antiques. They look perfectly fine to me. I like the way it was done. When I first saw them in the trailer, I was a bit worried, but I thought everyone really did do a great job. Everyone really did nail their roles. Ian McGregor, I don't know if you guys noticed, he's never actually seen the original Beauty and the Beast, and for someone who hadn't seen the original Beauty and the Beast, he actually did a really great job here. I love what he brought to the role. He was a lot of fun as Lumiere, as was Ian McKellen, as was Emma Thompson. Everyone just did a really great job. Audra McDonald, I thought, was really funny. Stanley Tucci was great. They really gave a lot more for some of the antiques to do, especially regarding some of the banter between them. Just a lot of fun to watch. I really love what they did here. I don't really think there was a bad antique in the bunch. There really wasn't anyone that I thought did a bad performance in terms of the antiques, and I really did love what they had to do here. I thought everyone really, the entire cast as a whole, really was great. So like I said, the acting here is quite fantastic. I think everyone really did a great job. Now let's talk about the directing here by Bill Condon, which a lot of people are getting on his ass about how he is a director of a Twilight film, and yes, he has directed one Twilight film, but he also directed Dreamgirls, which is not the best musical ever. I definitely will say that. But in terms of directing, that movie is visually astounding. Its songs are fantastic, and its directing is definitely on point. Even with Breaking Dawn, I don't really think Bill Condon has made anything that's not well directed. I think his directing, from a directing standpoint at least, is fantastic, and he was definitely the right choice for this movie. He did a very good job with keeping, like I said, the spirit of the original, but not trying to go too dark. There definitely is stuff in there that's a little bit darker than the original film. But he does do, it definitely is a little bit darker, but it doesn't try to deteriorate. It doesn't try to change a lot. There are definitely some changes in there, but I thought overall his tone was very well utilized. I really did think the funny moments worked very well. It's a little bit darker, like I said. There's a little bit more for the Beast to do, and I really did like the tone done throughout this movie. Very Phantom of the Opera-esque, honestly. Like, I felt a lot very Phantom of the Opera, especially scenes when the Beast was a prince, particularly then. The first scene especially, I definitely got the Phantom of the Opera feel, and I don't know if he was trying to go for that, but it honestly does make sense, because when you really think about it, Beauty and the Beast is the Phantom of the Opera for kids. I mean, they're two very much the same, except that, Raoul doesn't turn evil in the end. That's really the only difference here. And then regards to the screenplay here, I thought the screenplay overall was very well done. Like I said, this very much is the same film with a few new touches in there, i.e. the Beast Pass or the direction they take LeFou in or Gaston, and most of it worked quite well. Like I said, I cared a lot more about the Beast in this one. They really get into how his transformation happened and why he really was turned into a beast, and I really like the way that Belle and the Beast bonded. Just their scenes in general are some of the best in this movie. I think that it was just incredibly well done in that regard, and I love the way that was handled. And then LeFou, like I said, LeFou is also given a lot, especially towards the end of this movie, and I was actually okay with it. I like what they did because honestly, when it really comes down to it, when we look at the original film, did we really care about LeFou? No, I mean, I certainly didn't care. Honestly, I think if the Gaston, the only reason that LeFou really is as, well known as a character as he is because of the Gaston song. If that Gaston song was omitted from the original film, I don't think we give a shit about him. But because of they give him a lot more due here, and I was actually very happy with the direction they take him at the end. And I thought that actually worked really well. Now, Gaston, on the other hand, where they take him, I think it made sense why they wanted to do that. I think just for Luke Evans, he was hoping to play a more fun type villain role where he was just a jerk, and instead they wanted a much more monstrous type Gaston, and I don't exactly know if it worked as well. There's even a line where LeFou says in the movie, "I fear the real monster has been unleashed." So clearly they're trying to make Gaston the real monster, and I just don't know if that exactly worked. Everything else worked perfectly fine for me. I didn't really have any other problems with the screenplay beyond that. For the most part, I thought it worked really well. I thought, like I said, I was laughing a lot more than I expected to. I actually found a lot of really nice, subtle jokes in there, especially stuff that Lumiere said. I was laughing quite frequently, and I know a lot of people said it's not exactly that funny, but I definitely found it funny. I thought they had some really nice jokes in there. There's some new stuff in there as well. That was something else I really appreciate. A lot of movies nowadays, when you have a remake, it's word for word the same, and yeah, there are definitely things in here that are the same, but they do some very smart ideas. For example, in Belle, when Belle is talking to Monsieur Jean, the conversation is very different than it was in the original film, and I really appreciate them doing that because it makes it stand out more. It's not just the same exact movie. You can do, there are a lot of those scene by scene things, and if you were to do that on YouTube, there are a lot of differences you can point out, and I really love the way they did that here. A lot of remakes don't take that in consideration, and this one did, and it really does show how much care they put into this. I was very happy with the way that turned out, and that's something I definitely really did love. The cinematography here is incredible. It is visually stunning to look at. Just the design of the castle and the interior of that I thought was definitely very well done, but also the way all the characters look I thought were pretty great. The Beast was definitely spot on. It looked like something that you'd see in like a West End theater production. I thought he really did look great there. I thought everyone really did do a great job of the cinematography. Definitely the visuals were definitely really nice to look at. It's one of those movies that looks great with just like the sound off. I was very happy with the way cinematography looked here. Let's talk about the music, because that was something I was a bit worried about. The songs of Beauty and the Beast are very well known, but they are very high, as well in terms of score, and they had a lot to live up to, and I think they did a pretty great job, honestly. They really did a good job of capturing the magic of the original, and the good thing is most of the singers here are in fact classically trained. Emma Watson's the only one, but she was actually trained by the original voice of Belle in the original film, so even her, they did a good job with that, and I was happy with the way that turned out. I definitely really did love most of the songs here. The only one I wasn't a huge fan was Something There. There's one thing they do in Something There that I really was not a fan of. I don't think it worked as well, but Be Our Guest, Beauty and the Beast, they're all here, and I was very happy to see that. These other Disney remakes, they haven't really put in the other songs, and this is the first one that is a straight up musical, and I was very happy to see that all of the original songs are in fact retained, and I thought that was definitely very well done. But now let's talk about the new songs in here. which I didn't really know how to feel about them. Basically, I think they're in here because the ones in the Broadway show, there are certain songs that are very well known, and I don't think they could have gotten the rights to them. At least that's what I think. I don't think they had the rights to them like they wanted to, so they used new songs, and they're definitely good. I think all the new songs are definitely really well done. There's one in there that I thought was actually quite unnecessary and really just could have been taken out. It felt more like a deleted scene. However, Evermore, on the other hand, was fucking incredible. This one song that Dan Stevens, that the Beast has in like the midpoint of the film was absolutely incredible. I think he absolutely killed it in that scene, and honestly, for this film, it was pretty vital. Like, I don't think they could not have had that song. With the amount of depth that the Beast has in this movie, they kind of need that song in there, and it makes sense, too, because the Beast doesn't really have his own solo in the original film, so it made sense why they gave him a song here. Actually, that was very smart the way they did that. I love that song, and it actually really did make me care even more for the Beast than I did. Just Stan Stevens killed it. I have been humming that song ever since I left the theater, and it probably is one of the best things about this movie. Just that song was incredible. The length here, like I said, the movie is longer, but it's necessarily long. They added a few things in, they changed some things around, they extended some scenes, and I like the way they did that. I think it made this movie stand out more. I think it's something where it just gave you a little more depth than the other ones did, and that's something that Cinderella's done, that's something that Jungle Book's done, and also this movie's done, and I love the way that was handled overall. I was very happy with the way that turned out, and I thought in general the editing was definitely really good here. Overall, guys, I was very impressed with Beauty and the Beast. I think this is definitely the best of the Disney live-action films. I think this is definitely going to be the one to beat now. It's going to be very hard to see. Disney definitely has some stiff competition to compete with, and they had definitely a lot to live up to, and for the most part, they really did. Like I said, just a few things with Gaston, just a few things here and there they could have tweaked around a bit. Like, some of the songs just felt a bit random and things like that, but overall, I definitely really love this adaptation overall. When it really comes down to it, I think this is as good as a live-action adaptation of Beauty and the Beast could be, and I'm definitely going to give the live-action version of Beauty and the Beast a 4.75 out of 5, or an A. So far, guys, my review in the Beast. Let me know what you guys saw this movie overall. Loved your thoughts on it. Did you like this version? Did you like the changes they made, the new songs, all that kind of stuff? When it really comes down to it, I'd say either one is great. I really couldn't see which one I like more. I think they're both great movies. I think either one really does have that same charm to them. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be, I think, for Legends of Tomorrow. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's going to be for Legends of Tomorrow, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.